when Fred at the very last second said, Brett, come, it'll be nothing, it'll be quick, it'll be easy, come have a chat. And we spoke about what we should talk about. I think the one thing that I didn't want to do is give you something that you can Google. And if you want to know how to get investment and you can't Google, you shouldn't be in this room. You've got bigger issues. So we often get asked, things. So in fact, let me step back for a moment. I just want to say, Kit, it's not often that somebody gets to out. This is how we do. Everyone always says to me, Brett speaks his mind. That was special. I got, in fact, I think you gave Andrea a run for her money there. I mean, that's...
Was I wrong on any point?
No, but, I'm normally told I need to turn it back. Don't be as direct, so well done. I often get asked about, the industry. People want to get into this industry, which is quite a tough thing when it's such a tiny industry. This is not a place where you really get a job in venture capital. If you want to work in venture capital, you've got to pull off some rather ridiculous, sometimes amazing, sometimes some special things. And I figured it's worth talking a little bit about a journey of one venture capitalist, because it's a lot like the journeys of the rest of us. This isn't something where we kind of walked out of investment banking and suddenly we're, fantastic, successful venture capitalists. We've had to slog and do some of the weirdest and most random things you can think of. So I'm gonna jump a little bit through my own personal story, and I want to talk about some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, because they informed how I look at things, the kind of things that I do. So when an entrepreneur asks me, what about this? And we've got this fantastic idea. And I say no. I'm not saying no because I don't like your face. I'm saying no because there's a whole bunch of things that we've been through, that we've seen, that inform that decision. And I could explain it to you, but we don't always have 2 hours to run through that route. So here'll be a little bit of it. So ironically, I didn't realize there were going to be a bunch of the boys on bikes tonight, but it's about the journey, right? And it's this isn't about it's not really, we're not cakes. It's not about the end product. We're entirely just the journey. And we try to make it fun along the way. And hopefully we get a few things right. So this is the 2 seconds on who I am, where we work for, and where we fit into this ecosystem. We've got a growth company called something very difficult to pronounce because we like to mess with people. We've got an American advisor, and actually mainly just to hear him try and pronounce Hlaisani. If you're South African, you should be able to say Hlaisani. If you can't, work on it. It's fun. And so this is kind of our team. There's a group of worker bees, and there's a couple of wise brains. So a gentleman on the left is Dr. Aurel Khoza, who got pulled in to do an interim turnaround on the PIC, Michael Jordan, and Nkateko Khoza. There's Kevin Harris, Matthew Pauline, and myself, and Eugene van Rensburg. And we're a bunch of weirdos who, for some strange reason, I only had a little bit of that CBD water. We have this weird passion for a combination of entrepreneurship and transforming South Africa. And we figured the 2 things go really well together. So let's talk about the path, the lessons, the journey. I want to show you some of the weirdest things that I've done. I'm using a lot of weird. I'll stop. People might actually start believing it. I am a weird guy. When I was 12 years old, I was a little bit too young to legally work, but that didn't kind of stop me. So I started doing random jobs, and since then, I went back and tried to figure out all the things that I've done. Because remember, when you sit in front of a financier, they're bankers, right? Like even VCs, they think of you as bankers. Well, I might not be the typical banker. I manned shopping counters at a spa. I worked the cigarette counter. I got paid with money that got pulled out of all sorts of weird cracks when I was a kid. I've been a waiter. I've worked at a store you guys wouldn't even remember, John Orr's. I used to help people try clothes on, kids that would come in and buy school pants. And I'm the worst mechanical person in the world, but I had a holiday job in high school and in varsity, doing auto-electrical work. Basically would point and say, unscrew this and do that. Just never ask me to think, because I can't service my own motorbike. And I can't do anything mechanical. I sold skateboards and gear locks. And just totally random things in a totally random journey. Because if you're ever one of those people who go like, you meet those people who know exactly where they're going and they've got it all figured out and mapped out, fantastic. I love it. I was not that person. I still don't necessarily know where I'm going. But I'm just better at making it look like I know where I'm going. So I also had the privilege of doing some radio DJing, my kind of, as I said, my favorites. I used to DJ when I was in varsity up north. And I got to teach kids from the townships. It's how I put myself through varsity, doing Saturday morning schoolwork with these crazy, passionate kids. And I'd come in there, having gone to bed at 4 o'clock with a bit of a hangover 2 hours later, have to stand up and be enthusiastic and get to stand in front of people who, these days, I don't know, maybe all sorts of fantastical people. But it's random and it's like disconnected. I'm a CA by training, so I went to this stupid university, which who knows, maybe it won't even be relevant. I'm an accountant, as you can see, I'm sure, by looking at me. I worked in the Middle East. I worked for people like PricewaterhouseCoopers, for Deloitte. And I ended up in merchant banking. And I did all sorts of things that I said I wouldn't do, and the next thing I ended up doing it and trying out. And it's just about trying to figure out where next and what next. And then something changed for me. In 2002, I made my first tech investment, and I became a spreadsheet billionaire. I was on my way to the Learjet. I was picking out the colors and that, not quite, but I knew it was about to happen. And then all of a sudden, it didn't work. The spreadsheet numbers didn't come to pass. Things didn't work out and turn out as it would be. And I realized, hang on a mo, because we plan or we draw the pictures, it's not necessarily going to be there. And subsequently, I had the stupid habit of drawing money out of my bond, out of my credit card, and whatever I could, and investing into ideas and actually paying some very expensive school fees. We brought a sunglasses brand into the country and discovered that if you're going to put a product that doesn't matter how cool you think it is, but it actually looks like everybody else's product, you actually need really deep pockets, and you need to spend hundreds of thousands of rand and millions of rands, and that was where I learned about differentiation. And differentiation in the mind of the customer, not differentiation in your own mind. And so when we interact with entrepreneurs and the guy says, this is, and we really do get this is going to be Facebook, but much better. Like, I can tell you some very personal, painful lessons about why that's not the case. I bought a call center with some mates, and we learned that corporates say they're going to sign, and 18 months later, they haven't signed. And you've carried costs, and you've committed to leases, and customers don't just buy as you expect to. And then I made a really weird leap, because I was super passionate about entrepreneurship and about funding these businesses. And I jumped into setting up a venture capital company for one of the corporates. And we did some weird and crazy things. This was kind of the start of, at the same time as HB, as the Hesse Platinum Fund set up, as Hubie Dragons was set up. And we did weird things. And we had 1 million users on a platform, and we couldn't monetize them. 1 million users. And it never worked. And like one after the other. Some things did. If you recognize that name, you'll know Sean Riley, and Ad Dynamo is working. It's doing some incredible things, but each one is just lessons that we got to walk away with. And the most important thing out of all of them was learn the lesson. Take it to the next, figure out what you've done and make sure that you don't do the same stupid thing again. Although I have done that once or twice. And then we connected with some other investors, and we said, let's try and figure out how we get people in. And we went to the angels and the super angels, and we created a thing called AngelHub, and we tried to teach high net worth individuals how to invest into startup businesses without losing all their money. A corporate guy who knew how to run a massive investment business, but didn't necessarily know how to deal with 3 techies in a garage. And off we went, and we did some weird transactions, weird again. Some of them worked, some of them didn't, and each one brought a lesson of failure, and we'd turn around, analyze it, and we'd move on. So I think, and I keep talking about the failures, but it's really important. It's really important to know that this is not a thing of perfection. We constantly make mistakes, and you think you figure it out, and then like the rules change, and the game changes, the money changes, the people change, and next thing somebody, you think you've got this thing figured out, and you get it from another angle, and it's okay. It's okay to fail. It's okay to keep adapting. And I think the biggest shift was then we managed to, so the team from Knife went off and had some of their interesting trials and tribulations, and I connected with a family office, and we created this venture capital company called AngelHub Ventures, and managed to, along the way, connect with some really good entrepreneurs. We also did some things that were stupid. They didn't feel stupid at the time, but they ended up being so, and we put money into some businesses that didn't work out. We were brave, but some of them did. Some of them actually started to do really good things, and then they all hit the point where they needed to expand internationally, and there wasn't any money available. So we went and created that team that you saw earlier. I won't go into them, but you'll recognize some of the names. Some of the guys have been around here. Kiet spoke about Snaplify, Ikeja, the pseudonym guys, and Go Metro. But just to show you why this matters, because it's this long, random, winding journey that I could never have mapped out from the start. But at the moment, we sit with a group of these companies, and we did a map yesterday as to where they operate, and we went and looked at everywhere where they have a customer, and that's in dark blue. And that's a group of people who were passionate about the space, who made lots of mistakes, did lots of things wrong, kept learning lessons, try to make sure that our lessons were not expensive lessons, that we learned them as quickly as possible. We didn't always get it right, but now we've got businesses that work all over the world and have customers all over the world and are doing fantastic things. And there's another slide about all the good things that they're doing and the jobs and the rest of it. But I could give you my top 10 tips for getting venture capital, top 10 tips for impressing. I'm going to be a little bit more random and tell you, as of today, these are 10 things that I think are true in this space and are valid for me and are meaningful. So number one, you are the first investor into your business. It's really important that you start to think like one. There's not much of a difference actually between us, other than I may have seen a few more thousand business plans than you, but maybe someday you will also be, and maybe some of you already are, on the other side of the table, taking the money that you've earned and looking how to invest it. And it's really important that you, as quickly as possible, realize that every hour you put into your business, you're investing. You're not nurturing your baby, you're investing into your business. That's an hour you're not putting into your family, that's an hour you're not putting into anyone else, it's an hour you're not putting into earning another stream of revenue. You are an investor into your business. Never trust anyone who doesn't talk about their failures. That's my personal view. If somebody is all glossy and roses, you can't learn much from them. I once had somebody who I thought was a mentor, and everything just looked perfect. He was doing everything right, and I couldn't see anything that went wrong. And it's a lie. And you don't learn important things from people like that. Then it's important when you look in, one of the big comments we get is, no one is doing this. There may be a reason no one is doing this. Often I can open up the graveyard of the 400 businesses that have tried. But you've looked in that market and no one's doing it. No, they were and they failed. And they were and they failed. But the question is, did they fail because they did it wrong, or did they fail because it can't be done? It's really important to try and figure out that difference. My life motto, it's my WhatsApp status: strong beliefs, loosely held. Make sure you look into something, dig deep, believe it, be passionate about it. But if someone shows that you're wrong, be open to go, okay, I'm going to let it go. It's really important, especially as an entrepreneur. Otherwise, you're not coachable. Avoid the echo chamber. This is an obvious one. Don't take all your feed from Facebook. Make sure that you get alternative views, especially in your business. Find people who will challenge you, or people who will tell you different ways of doing things. If you can, avoid a business that's affected by headlines. It's very relevant here today. You don't want a business that every time the economy goes up and goes down, you're in business, you're out of business, things are failing. That's what I was listening to some of the Africa equity investors talking today. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for ones who aren't going to dip every time an economy gets hit hard. It's not easy, but it's worth noting. Also, don't make your decision on the day's emotion. Now, for a South African, that's one of the most important things to do. Because like, there's any day where you're putting it all in and you hear a good talk, and the next moment you're sending everything with your banker, and there's not much, and you're trying to figure out how to transfer that small amount into some random account because you're giving up, and that's all. Everybody wait to the next day. Let the emotion pass. And it's true in your business as well. Some of the hits and some of the wins are massive, and that emotion needs to be taken out of it before you ever go and make that call on what you're going to do about it. Find people who make you better. It's an obvious statement. Nothing works like you planned it in the spreadsheet, ever. But make sure that you understand the downside, how low that dip can go. Because you want to be able to last. If that cost line goes down, you've got to be able to last through that, especially if that fantastic rocket ship of an income doesn't come in like you want. So, you know that thing of expect the best but plan for the worst? It's really important in your business. And then my most important thing in this industry, because it's very easy to get jaded and it's very easy to get up here and sound like a grumpy pot, especially when you combine the struggles of SME, the struggles of South Africa, the struggles that we go through as entrepreneurs. Don't be a grumpy bastard. Don't lose your sense of wonder, because there's amazing stuff happening around us all the time. So you must have seen this quote. It's my favorite, and you see it often in entrepreneurship. And if you indulge me for a second, it's not the critic who counts, not the one who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the one who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends herself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at worst, if she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And it's her, because this is my daughter's message, or it's my message to my daughters. And that is what we are. We, the people who try, we do this crazy, stupid business model. We do the things that everybody says is too hard to do. Entrepreneurship is too hard. Go get a job. No, we're here, and we do it because of this. So thank you. Have a good evening.